The German parliament is expected to approve the country's supply chain law on Friday. It aims to make corporations accountable for every inch of their supply chains and any rights or environmental abuses that take place within them.
Uyghurs picking cotton in China's Xinjiang region. The Muslim population here has been oppressed by Beijing for many years, abused, put in internment camps and made to work in forced labor. Much of their product used to end up in shoes and shirts sold in Germany and other Western countries. The supply chain law prohibits forced labor as well as child labor and work threatening or destroying the environment. It applies to all companies selling to Germany, and it's met opposition from industry bodies.
We
think it's wrong to respond to a global problem with a national law. This doesn't change the global human rights situation. All it does, it creates additional competitive disadvantages for our own companies here, which are global leaders in terms of their standards. The industry argues that German companies might have to stop doing business with some countries, making the situation for people there even worse. But Berlin wants change. For too long, we have accepted the exploitation of people and nature in developing countries. For too long, we have tolerated child labor on a large scale. Children laboring on plantations or in mines. The German government wants to end all that and set an example for others in the EU and beyond that it can be done.
Well, let's get more on this from our financial correspondent in Frankfurt, Chelsea Delaney. Chelsea, businesses have argued this law will be impossible to implement. Are they right?
Well, in its purest form, it would be very difficult because the idea is that a company operating here in Germany would be responsible from the moment that that raw material, from the moment that cotton or that metal comes out of the ground in some faraway country. But in actuality, it's not going to be that strict of a law for most companies. These businesses are going to be responsible for themselves and their direct suppliers, but further down the line, their indirect suppliers, they only have to basically conduct these due diligence and risk analysis procedures if they get some sort of tip or a complaint that these human rights are being violated. So this is still quite difficult for some companies that haven't been doing this yet, but this rule will only apply to 0.1% of German businesses.
We've heard complaints from industry bodies, but it's not totally without support from the business world, is it?
Right, and some of Germany's biggest companies have come out in support of this. Companies like Daimler and Adidas and BMW have called for supply chain laws. These are companies that have, to some extent, been doing this sort of due diligence for suppliers for a long time. But others are still quite critical of this. They say, especially for the smaller businesses, it's going to be very difficult to build up these new reporting systems. And, of course, many companies are quite worried that this is going to put them at a disadvantage when they have all of these new bureaucratic costs and other companies around the world don't.
So are we expecting other countries to follow in Germany's footsteps?
Yeah, I think many people think Germany will be a trendsetter for this. France already has a supply chain law like this. The EU has basically promised to come out with its own version. They had said June, so I think we could expect something like that soon. Other countries have made some sort of move towards supply chain diligence. In the U.S., they've banned the importing of cotton from Xinjiang, and other countries have made steps like that as well. But I think we're a whiles away from a really global supply chain law like this.
Chelsea Delaney in Frankfurt, thank you.